What's wrong with communism? Now, what many people don't understand is there are some similarities between the third position and communism. But what's interesting is a lot of the things that the fascists are blamed for, such as violating individual rights and things of that nature, are actually the results of communism and actually why fascism was created by Benito Mussolini. But I'm going to get into what's wrong with communism. It's not the economics, as strange as that might seem. What is primarily wrong with communism is the bullheadedness, the idea that there can be no other way but communism. And some of the key features of communism are a lack of individual rights, the idea that everybody must be homogeneous, maybe not in race, but in ideology, and that any deviation between that outside that ideology is a crime. What's interesting is I've actually met true communists that adhere to Soviet communism that are decent people. Communists want what's best for their country, just as fascists or national socialists or Republicans or most Democrats, etc. What the problem is the way they go about getting it. What you'll notice, there are whole groups that could actually be considered communist, and they have the same problems as nations that are communist. For example, the Amish. One of the biggest issues the Amish have is the cloistered nature and the interbreeding, because they do not wish to associate with anybody outside of their little tiny sect, which they call the English. If you look at North Korea has a similar issue. It's very cloistered. Again, I don't doubt that the North Korean government may possibly want what's best for the North Korean people. It seems like they do if you look at the philosophy of Juji. But that doesn't mean that that's the best way to go about it. The Soviet Union, for example, with the Berlin Wall, was a wall to keep people in, not keep people out. The primary problems with communism, again, are not economic, because there are many economic ideas that are shared between the two positions of National Socialism and communism. But what's funny is when people get into individual rights, such as individual property rights, the individual right towards self-defense, or any idea that an individual is an individual, the fascist state or the National Socialist state recognizes the individual, but recognizes the individual's duty to the working of the organic nature of the state. Whereas communism takes a mechanistic approach. It looks at the community instead of as an organic life form, more as a machine. And every individual is a cog in that machine that must be interchangeable. This is not the nature of the human animal, and humans are animals, and we must respect the fact that we're animals. And that's basically what I would say is wrong with communism. It's sad because there are, like I said, a lot of people I've met that are dedicated communists that do not recognize what's wrong with their own philosophy. There are also a lot of Democrats that are communists that don't know they're communists. What's funny is one of the Che Guevara, who was a Castilian white supremacist that happened to be a Marxist, was a brutal white supremacist that murdered many Negroes, homosexuals, and referred to the Mexicans as mentally challenged Native Americans, which I cleared up with a little bit of fascistic political correctness there. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Doing these videos first thing when I wake up seems to be a positive thing.